Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9. Today we are talking about Erica Nicole Hunt. Her story is incredibly sad, and as far as I know, it is still technically ongoing. Like, there's not really a solid answer of who did it, but I still think it's important to tell, and I do want to say that there's not a lot of information on this case, but most of the information that I got are from articles that interviewed her family, and it's from her family basically. Like, her family definitely was doing everything they can to find her and to just get her case resolved. And I do want to say I'm sorry to the family if they come across this case. She looked like a lovely woman. I'm gonna put pictures of her on the screen. She's so happy and vibrant, and she should definitely still be here. But I'm gonna tell you her story today. Before I get into it, my case suggestions form is down below, like always. So if there's a case you want me to talk about, definitely fill that out and I will get to it. If you did not see last week's episode, it was so sad. It was about a missing baby boy named Marlon, and I definitely think you should listen to his story as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Let me tell you about Erica Nicole Hunt. So Erica Nicole Hunt was 20 years old, and she had been missing since July 4th, 2016. So the previous day, Erica attended an Independence Day celebration at her family's home in Opelousas, Louisiana. I'm not from Louisiana, so if I pronounce any of these wrong, I'm sorry. But I think I pronounced Opelousas correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. Family members said Erica was acting normally at the celebration. She talked about applying for housing and seemed excited about her upcoming 21st birthday. Erica's sister, Shantasia Isaac, told Dateline that it was just a good day for our family. Everyone was just hanging out and having a good time. And I will actually post pictures of that celebration on the screen as well. So the morning before she vanished, Erica visited her sister and brother-in-law's house and asked for money to buy cigarettes. It's unknown if she left their home on foot or somebody picked her up, but she would later be seen behind a local restaurant on Hirsch Alley sometime between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., and she has not been seen or heard from again after that. So that's basically like her last known whereabouts. And there's just something really eerie about that. I don't know, it's just to know that that's the last place she was seen. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But of course, it was not believed that she had just went missing voluntarily, as we will find out. She left behind a 2-year-old daughter, which it's said to be very uncharacteristic of her. It's reported that Erica was also scheduled to braid her friend's hair, but she didn't make that appointment either. And when they all learned that Erica didn't return home and her roommate was also concerned, everyone felt that something wasn't quite right. And so on July 6th, an official missing persons report was filed with the police department. I feel like family and friends, they definitely know the victims better than the police do or anyone else just looking into it would know. And my heart aches to just know that they started to get that feeling that something wasn't right, that something was wrong. And I'm so happy that they reported her missing when they did. Even though what happened is still very heartbreaking. So, over time, people, of course, they've claimed that they've seen Erica around the city, like the alley behind Ray's Boudin, which is a grocery store, or somewhere along random streets. But investigators said that none of those sightings could be confirmed, and who knows, maybe that was her. It's just, if her family thinks that it's uncharacteristic of her to just go missing and leave her daughter behind, I'm going to agree with the family. And it just makes you wonder, like, if she had played devil's advocate, left voluntarily, what would have made her do that? And the fact that she would just be walking around the city, not going home, it's just, I feel like there's always people that are going to say that they see the person that's going missing because they just want to be included in the case. They just want to say that they were a part of it, which is really gross. But maybe people really did think that they saw her. But I will choose to believe the family that she did not voluntarily leave, and if that was her walking around the city, I would have to believe that she would have went home or she would have contacted someone. Um, but yeah, those sightings could not be confirmed. Someone even tipped off police and told them that Erica's remains could be found, quote, possibly in a house on Hirsch Alley, end quote, where Erica once lived, but after an extensive search, nothing related to the disappearance could be located. Cadaver dogs were used, but nothing was found. Um, I would like to know who that someone was and why they would even say that. I mean, maybe they have like a reason to think like, oh, this could have happened to her and she could possibly be here, but it's just like, why would you make a tip like that? That's just really weird. I will never be able to understand people who make tips like that when they're literally founded on nothing. But like I said, there was a search, supposedly extensive, but nothing related to her disappearance was found. So her sister, I think it's Shantasha or Shanatasha, I'm sorry, um, says she was always smiling and she just loved being around family and friends. And we were as close as sisters could be. I mean, of course we fought like crazy, but we could be arguing and then if something happened and I needed her, it didn't matter. She'd be right by my side to help me. That's who she was, end quote. And you can just tell by the photos of her smiling and with her family that she's very family oriented. She loved her family. She's very happy and vibrant, and just from the photos, I don't think, I mean, obviously you can't tell someone's mental state or how they're feeling just from a picture of them, but from the photos, it doesn't sound like anything was wrong, that she would have a reason to leave. And just the way that her family speaks about her, especially her sister, it's just so heartbreaking because you know that they loved her very much. So, the sad part is that human remains were found in a rural area of Evangeline Parish, Louisiana in 2018 and have been identified as belonging to Erica Nicole Hunt. And she had been missing since 2016 at that point, so for all we know, they were there for 2 years. So, the skeletal remains were found during a search for a missing child at the time, but not identified until 2 years later through the efforts of the Louisiana State Police Crime Lab, the LSU Forensic Anthropology and Computer Enhancement Services Laboratory, and the DNA Doe Project. Louisiana State Police Troop spokesman Thomas Gosson stated in the release. On February 5th, 2021, so just this past year, state police investigators announced that they were able to positively confirm a forensic match to Erica Hunt. The Louisiana State Police are investigating Erica's death as a homicide with assistance from the Evangeline Parish Sheriff's Office and the Opelousas Police Department. So, going back to 2021, or 2020, I'm sorry, not 2021. In 2020, Chief McClelland told Dateline that there were no suspects in Erica's disappearance, but following the discovery and identification of her remains, her death is being investigated as a homicide, and the public is asked to call authorities with any information that may be of assistance to the case. And that is what I have for you. As far as I know, they've still not named any suspects or have any more information on our case or anything like that. As far as I know, the case is still ongoing. And maybe they have information and they're just not releasing it to the public because sometimes they do that. But as far as I know, they didn't have anything to go on, and it's just crazy to think that her remains were found under a shed, and they could have been there almost immediately after she went missing, and I can't believe that she went missing in 2016. Remains were found in 2018, and from what I could find, a way that it's worded, it wasn't until 2021, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 5 years later, I want to say, 5 years after she went missing, that her remains were actually identified to be her. And I know that testing takes a while, but as we saw in the Gabby Petito case, they found remains. They were tested, and within a month maybe, they got confirmation that it was her. So it's like, why didn't they test them right away to find out who it was? Like, okay, maybe it's not the child that they were looking for, but it's still a person, and a person's remains should not be under a shed. And I just can't believe that it took them that long to identify her, and that her remains were just alone and laying under a shed like she was nothing. And that's horrific to think about. I am so sorry to the family. Because I definitely believe that this case is solvable, and it's just crazy to think that they're not finding anything um that is of use to them, and it just makes you wonder if they're actually doing what they can, not to be a jerk about it or anything. It's just Erica deserves to have her case solved, and like, I can't believe that they I couldn't find anything like that, if there was anything around where her remains were, where if it's under a shed, okay, maybe like DNA or something got washed away, but like there's nothing, absolutely nothing to point to who did it or even what happened to her. Like, I wasn't even able to find how she died. Um it's just that it's being investigated as a homicide. So it's like, I don't even know how she died. And maybe that's just something they didn't release, but I don't know. I wish they would release a little bit more information, because maybe someone out there knows something and they just don't know if they don't have the right information because the police isn't releasing information. I know that was a lot of stuff that just came out of my mouth, but I hope you understood what I was trying to say there. But that is the story of Erica Nicole Hunt, how she went missing, or her going missing, and sadly her remains being found. But yeah, if you know anything about Erica Nicole Hunt, please report that to authorities. Her family deserves to have this case closed. So does Erica. To just, the person that did this to her needs to be caught. But thank you for listening to Erica's story. I'm sorry it wasn't very much longer. There was almost nothing, like I said. Most of it came from the family just talking about her. And I will leave the links that I used for my research down below, like always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.